Okay, this week I've got a weigh-in update, some thoughts about fiber. Ooh, so exciting, fiber. How my workouts are going, and the uncertain future of semaglutide compounded medication. Is it going away or what? Plus, I'll share what my smart scale says about some progress beyond just my weight. Hi, I'm Dr. Bobby. If you're new here, welcome. I am a psychologist and an artist, and this is my series on my personal weight loss journey on a GLP-1 medication. And if you've been following along, welcome back. Thanks for being a part of this. Real quick before we dive in, I just want to point out that I am not a medical doctor, and none of this is medical advice. I'm Dr. Bobby because I have a PhD in clinical psychology, but I'm just talking here about my personal experience, and everyone's really different. So talk to your own healthcare provider before you make any decisions for you. And I'm just going to talk about what's working for me and how this is going for me. So I have to admit, I'm a little frustrated that the scale didn't move this week because I had a great week, but my weight has been hovering right around between 200 and 201 pounds for several weeks now. And for some of that time, I was on vacation, so the fact that I didn't gain weight was something I was really happy about. But I've been back a couple weeks, and getting back on track, particularly this last week, I've felt way more on track, and the scale isn't moving. But on my smart scale, I noticed that I'm actually down a pound of fat this week. So I'm really trying to focus on that as a win, even if my overall weight hasn't budged. I've lost a pound of fat this week because that's really the most important metric. I mean, it's easy to say like I'm trying to lose weight, but actually what that means is that I'm trying to lose fat. If my overall weight hasn't changed, it could be because of the amount of water I've got on board, that I need to poop, something I ate last night. So I'm reminding myself that I am losing fat, and I am starting to notice my clothes fitting a little bit differently. There are some things that were tight enough that I wasn't wearing them that I can wear comfortably now. So things are moving in the right direction, even though the scale isn't really moving. I think I talked about this last week too, that I'm not a very patient person. So, I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing and just remind myself that, I just have to be patient, because if I just keep doing this, the results will follow. So let's see, what have I been doing? I haven't talked about the specific medication that I'm on in a little while. So I'm on compounded semaglutide, which is a non-name brand version of Wegovy, basically, that's compounded in a pharmacy. And I'm on the lowest dose, which is 0.25 milligrams, and I've been on that for now 9 weeks. It's considered a starter dose, but it had been working for me. So my doctor and I decided not to bump it up, especially because I was struggling with the side effect of constipation. So since I was losing weight at a good clip and still trying to get on top of the constipation, we haven't upped the dose. I'm not sure, because my weight loss has slowed down, if she'll want to up the dose when I talk to her next. It'll be still a couple weeks before we meet to talk about next month's dose. I've been really happy that I've been able to stay at this low dose for so long, because it's pretty common that the starter dose doesn't have much of an effect. It gets your body used to the medication, but people have to move up to the next higher dose or even higher to start losing weight, to start feeling the effects of the medication. And so I'm glad that wasn't the case for me, and I've been able to hang out here and lose 10 pounds. But, if my weight loss stalls and I need to go up to the next dose, we'll cross that bridge. If you're in the world of GLP-1 medications, then you've probably heard all of the talk about the compounded medications going away soon. And what that's about is that when there was a real shortage of Wegovy and Zepbound and I think some other, I don't know what all brand name weight loss medications, but when there was a shortage, the FDA approved compounded pharmacies creating non-brand compounded versions of the medication to help with the shortage. And the drug companies have since petitioned, or I don't know what the word is, but petitioned the FDA claiming that the shortage is over, and the FDA agreed that the shortage was over. And so the compounded pharmacies will no longer be allowed to create the compounded versions of the medication. The bummer about that is that the compounded versions are much more affordable than the name brand version. So sometime in May, compounding pharmacies won't legally be allowed to produce compounded semaglutide, which is what I'm on. So I'll probably have to switch to the name brand Wegovy, which my insurance might cover. I'm getting the semaglutide through the Weight Watcher clinic, and I've got them checking right now to see if Wegovy is covered by my insurance. One thing they told me is that even though the semaglutide can no longer be manufactured after the May deadline, there's quite a sizable inventory of it. And so I'll be able to get the compounded version of my medication for at least a few months. They weren't able to give a specific date, obviously, but they said for at least a few months I'll be able to be on it. So I'm basically trying to sort out what I'll do when eventually compounded semaglutide goes away. I mean, almost certainly it appears that it will go away. I guess court decisions could get reversed and everything, but as it stands now, I'll need to come up with some alternative plan to get a GLP-1 medication. There's a chance that my insurance might cover Wegovy or maybe a different medication because of my sleep apnea, but I'll keep you posted. They haven't heard back yet. I totally made a mistake in last week's video. I was talking about the advice my doctor gave me for getting on top of constipation, and she had advised me to take a dose of Miralax every day. And in my video last week, I said Mylanta instead of Miralax, which is a totally different medication. Sorry about that. I didn't notice the mistake until after I'd published the video. So I put a sticky comment at the top of the comment section saying, oops, I meant to say Miralax when I said Mylanta, but it's still there in the video, and I hope it doesn't mislead anyone. What I've been doing is taking a daily dose of Miralax, and it is helping, but damn, this constipation is so persistent that I don't really feel like I'm on top of it yet, but it is getting better. So at least it's not as much of a struggle. I think maybe the daily Miralax with a cup of Smooth Moves tea every few days will be like the right combination for me. I'm still in the process of working that out. But yeah, I feel like I've had a really good week. My eating's been really healthy. I haven't had a lot of food noise. I would say my appetite is suppressed but not absent. So I'll get hungry at mealtime and then I'll eat and then not get hungry again until the next mealtime. I much prefer this to when I had no appetite and just was kind of making myself eat because I knew I needed food, but I didn't really feel like eating. This is much more comfortable to just kind of get hungry when it's mealtime. And if you feel that naturally, my hat's off to you. It's not an experience I've had in my life, pretty much my whole life. I feel like I could always just eat at any moment just for like recreation, and that does no longer appeal to me. Eating when I'm hungry is still pleasurable, but it's not something that I'm thinking about when I'm not hungry. One thing that helped with food this week is that I had my second week of Thistle meals delivered. I talked about those meals in last week's video. I'm still really enjoying those. The food's really fresh and healthy, and their default meals are all plant-based, and then you can add on an animal-based protein if you want. And I've been doing that for most of the meals, but not the ones that already have like tofu or a lot of beans in them. Everything tastes really good and is filled with fiber and lots of different vegetables and fruits. And what I was thinking this week? Have you ever seen those pictures of like what food looks like in an advertisement and what it looks like in real life? And they don't even look like the same thing. And I was thinking this week, when I dumped mine into a bowl and tossed it with the dressing, I was like, it looks really good. So that just, I don't know, that just made me laugh. And it also made me feel like this was real food and you didn't have to do weird things to it to make it look appetizing in a picture. And it is fun to eat food that's really pretty. So anyway, I signed up for more meals this past week, and that helped me to stay on track in terms of just having really healthy meals on hand. I ordered some more for next week, and then I also ordered some Factor meals for next week to try those out. I've heard some really good things about them, and right now on their website, they offer 50% off your first order. So I'll be trying out Factor and getting more Thistle meals this week. Again, to just kind of have really healthy, balanced meals on hand. Factor meals look a lot more like meat and two veg style of meal, whereas the Thistle meals, it's a lot more salads and bowls and things like that. I like both of those ways of having meals, and there's no particular food that I avoid. I know that like really greasy fried food is difficult to digest when you're on a GLP-1 medication, and none of the meals from Factor or Thistle look like the kind of meals that would be hard for someone on a medication to eat. it kind of seems like the factor meals don't have as much fiber in them. I was looking at the nutrition profiles as I was ordering them, and it seems like it's 5 or 6 grams of fiber per meal. So I don't think I'll have more than one of those a day because I try to get 25 or more grams of fiber. The Thistle meals, because they're so plant-based, have tons of fiber in them. So I think between the Thistle meals and whatever meals I make myself, I think having a meal that's just 5 or 6 grams of fiber is okay. Fiber is so important. I mean, it's important to everyone, but if you're taking a GLP-1 medication, it becomes even more important because your digestion slows down, and getting enough fiber is one of the things that helps with constipation. It also helps you feel full longer, and fiber is what helps feed the microbes in your gut. So eating a lot of fiber is really good for your gut health. If you're struggling with getting enough fiber, I have a few thoughts that might be helpful for you. Someone somewhere, I can't remember where, was talking about getting fiber, and they were like, make sure to get a green salad every day to get your fiber. And I was like, lettuce doesn't actually have that much fiber in it. Even if you have mixed greens like kale and spinach and stuff, like 2 cups of greens have maybe 1 or 2 grams of fiber, and women are supposed to get 25 or more grams, and men are supposed to get 38 grams of fiber a day. So a salad with 1 or 2 grams of fiber doesn't make that much of a dent unless you're adding beans, which have tons of fiber. I think a cup of beans has like 12 grams of fiber. It varies according to the bean, but if you get half of your fiber intake for the day eating a cup of beans, that's crazy. Whole grains have a lot of fiber. A cup of brown rice has like 3 or 4 grams of fiber in it. But if you've ever tried farro, Farro, it's a grain that you can use anywhere you would use rice, but it's got 11 grams of fiber per cup. And it's really good. It's like nutty and chewier than rice. So that's another good way to get fiber, is to add farro. Oatmeal has fiber, but again, like a cup of oatmeal has about 4 grams of fiber. So it's not nothing. It will put a dent in your fiber intake. But if you really want to up the fiber with your breakfast, add raspberries or blackberries to your oatmeal, because a cup of raspberries or blackberries has like 9 grams of fiber in it. So there's no one food group that has a ton of fiber in it, except beans. I will say all the beans have tons of fiber. But in terms of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, there's a lot of variance. So you could make some strategic swaps to make sure you're getting enough fiber. That's kind of how I've been working it, is doing fiber math. So, if I had raspberries for breakfast and I want to have some fruit later that day, I can have an apple and it's got 3 or 4 grams of fiber in it. It's not nothing, but I know that I've had all that fiber in the raspberries, and so I can eat the apple and know I'm on track. Whereas if I had the apple at breakfast, I might try to look for something a little bit higher in fiber for that afternoon snack. So it's just kind of keeping track. All of this is a lot easier if you track what you eat. I've been tracking in the Weight Watcher app. Before I started Weight Watcher again, I tracked on MyFitnessPal. There's a lot of different trackers out there. I think the one you use is less important than just the fact that you track. In terms of making sure you get enough protein and fiber, which are really important for GLP-1 users. Yeah, keeping track can help you make those strategic decisions about what to incorporate into your meals. Even though I try to eat more unprocessed food than processed food, there are a couple of items of processed food that I'll use sometimes to bump up my fiber if I'm having a low fiber day. One is a Quest bar. They have usually around 20 grams of protein and around 15 grams of fiber. I don't know how they do it, and I don't know what's in it. It's not natural, but they're tasty, and it'll give you a big chunk of fiber and protein. The other thing for fiber is the Olay low carb tortilla. I'll put the picture. I know it's Olay, like Extreme Wellness something. I don't know the name. I'll put the picture of the tortilla up here. Those have, I think, like 8 or 9 grams of fiber, a lot more than a regular tortilla. So that's another way to really like bump up your fiber, is to use one of those tortillas. Last week, I was really struggling getting back into my exercise routine after vacation. And this week, I've been back into it, and it feels so good. Except my legs are so sore, but it's the good kind of sore. I'm not hurt. I'm just like, I've got the muscle soreness from working out. I did 2 strength training workouts this past week, and then I've walked a lot. I've changed my exercise schedule. Before my vacation, my plan was to do 3 strength training workouts a week. 1 upper body, 1 lower body, and 1 total body, and I've decided to just collapse that into 2 total body strength workouts. First of all, I think it'll just help me be more consistent to only have to show up twice to do strength workouts. And the other reason is that when I do it that way, I alternate an upper body exercise with a lower body exercise so that, one half of my body's resting while the other one's working, and it ends up being a really good cardio workout. So instead of doing 3 strength workouts, and then I was also part of my schedule was doing a cardio class once a week and then lots of walking, I'm just doing those 2 strength training workouts that are pretty cardio and then lots of walking. And that just feels more sustainable for me right now. I know myself, and the fewer times I have to get my ass to the gym, the more successful I'll be. I wouldn't even say that I got back into my routine this week because I was really motivated. It was more like I was just tired of blowing it off for no reason. There was that period of time after vacation, I just had a hard time getting back to it. And once I went, it became easier to go back. Another thing actually that helped is I made a playlist of special music that I would only listen to when I was working out at the gym. I do look forward to hearing that playlist. So, yeah, it's been 9 weeks. I'm still 10 pounds down, which is basically what I lost in the first month. And I haven't really lost any weight the second month, but my clothing is fitting better. I never did measurements, and I know I should. I should have done them before. I should probably still do them now. And I don't know what my resistance is to doing measurements. Any words of wisdom from you to motivate me to take my measurements, I would love. Leave them in the comments because it's something I know I should do. And I don't know, I feel really resistant to taking my measurements. But I do notice that my clothing is starting to fit more loosely and that there are a couple things I wasn't wearing because they were too tight that fit now. I still don't really see a big difference in the mirror, but I feel it in my clothing. It's not so much like visually that I look different, but obviously something's different if I can wear some clothes that didn't really fit before. So that's basically my week. It's been good. If I only defined it by the scale, it would not have been a good week. But if I take that out of it, I lost a pound of fat and my clothes are fitting better. I feel so good about getting back into my strength training. I've walked almost every day this week. I feel good. And I'll talk to my doctor in a couple weeks and see if I need to go up on my dose or, who knows, maybe my update next week, the scale will have a big dip down. You never can predict these things. So until then, if you enjoyed this and you found it helpful, please like it and subscribe. It really helps the video get shown to more people who might find it helpful if you like this video. Also, when you subscribe, you won't miss any of my weekly updates. Okay, I'll see you next time. Have a great week. Bye.